Everyone saw the missed free throws. Everyone had an opinion. But what if those two shots in the dying seconds of a brutal game against the New York Liberty actually revealed the single most important thing about Caitlin Clark and the impossible pressure she's under? Because when the final buzzer sounded, Clark wasn't even on the court. She was glued to the bench, watching, waiting, and her post-game response. It didn't just raise questions, it blew the lid off the entire narrative, forcing us to ask, what really happened in those final moments? Why was she absent when the game mattered most? And what did she finally reveal that nobody else was expecting?
Are set to take on the New York Liberty. Now, we are in the midst of sabotage. We are in the midst of a lot of nonsense going on with this team. A bonehead bozo clown put on her red nose of a coach in Stephanie White. She's having spaz attacks and losing her mind every time Caitlin Clark shoots the ball.
Backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in.
Rating game if you're a fan of the Indiana Fever against the New York Liberty. But as I always say, and I start so many of these videos out, being an Indiana Fever fan is not for the faint of heart. I actually can't even remember the last time they took their starters out early. The Indiana Fever seem to always be in that crunch time, just like grinding it out for a win. And they almost had it after being down by 10 at the free throw line, of which the Indiana Fever shot an abysmal 50%.
Look, the easiest thing Caitlin Clark could have done after the Indiana Fever's gut-wrenching loss to the New York Liberty would have been to point the finger somewhere else. And believe me, there were plenty of places to point it. She could have easily deflected, blamed external factors, or even just sidestepped the whole issue. Because in an environment as hypercritical as the WNBA's current landscape, especially when you're Caitlin Clark, finding a scapegoat is almost always the path of least resistance. But she didn't, and that's the kicker.
Full first half, ISOing all day, no teamwork, slow basketball, the ball not moving around. I mean, it's ridiculous work what we're doing out here. Then we get to the closing side of the game. AB going up with a contested shot. I mean, I don't know what she was throwing up at the end. Caitlin Clark throwing up a contested shot. I don't know what she had going on with this ISO stuff. Why are we ISOing when we just saw evidence that if we run the pick and roll, we can get a good look. We can get a good look, right? The entire first half was nasty work. ISO this, ISO that. I mean, my eyes felt like somebody dropped lemon drops in me.
Backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in.
This is exactly how I feel. Another game. Now, I made a video talking about Breanna Stewart, telling the world what Dallas did to stop the Fever. They gave y'all the game plan they was going to do to stop y'all publicly. Yet again, she run the offense.
She could have absolutely blasted the brutal schedule, the relentless travel that has the Fever crisscrossing time zones like a flight crew, the physical defense that's more reminiscent of a wrestling match, the missed calls from the officials, or even those two critical free throws that instantly became the internet's favorite crime scene. Any one of those would have been a perfectly understandable, even expected, reaction from a player under her level of scrutiny. Instead, Clark did something truly unexpected. She turned the attention squarely back toward herself, taking full ownership of the moment. And let me tell you, that reaction says far more about her undeniable, elite mentality than one difficult game ever could, especially when every single moment of her career is treated like a national referendum.
Going on with Stephanie White, she's lost her damn mind. You got a big man in Aaliyah Boston who refuses to pass the ball to the best player in the league in Caitlin Clark. She refuses to do a dribble handoff. She never hands it off. She always wants to fake it and then go one-on-one. You also have a big in Aaliyah Boston who doesn't set real screens. I mean, it's a bunch of sabotage going on. Let's be clear here. The Indiana Fever are an absolute joke right now, mainly because the coach and the big man, and this ain't even a Kelsey thing. Like, at the end of the day, we know Kelsey's just going to shoot. She's just going to score. Caitlin and Kelsey have been fine as a backcourt. They've been the ones carrying this team for the most part. It's almost like Aaliyah Boston started to feel left out.
Backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in.
At the beginning of this game, they were going band for band, trading buckets, but the defense on both ends was just so bad. Everyone was getting blown by. People on the Liberty were getting blown by. People on the Indiana Fever were getting blown by the Liberty. So I can't say that this was one of those like can't miss first beginnings of the game, though it did end up getting that way in the fourth quarter. The Liberty started coming away with a 10-point lead against the Indiana Fever. Did not know if the Fever could pick it back up, but they went on a run. It was a 3-point game.
Because here's the reality check. Everything she does, every single play, every win, every loss is being treated like a definitive statement on her entire career. The weight she's being asked to carry is absolutely absurd, unlike anything we've seen in women's basketball history. It's not just about playing a game. It's about carrying an entire league, an entire media narrative, and the hopes of millions of fans on her shoulders, all while navigating a schedule designed to break even the most seasoned veterans. This isn't just pressure. This is a crucible, and her response to it is what separates her from everyone else.
And me watching that game, it was hurting me, fam. Oh my goodness. Then we get to the second half, we get to the third quarter, right? Late in the third, we start to figure out, if we run the pick and roll, we can not only get Caitlin a mid-range shot, not only get somebody a lay at the rim, we can also not take the shot and find an Aaliyah Boston in the corner. We can find a Sophie in the corner if we just take our time and focus and move the ball around, not panic. Then all of a sudden we figure that out. Oh my goodness, look how it works. Look how it works. Then Aaliyah Boston gets the ball in the corner, doesn't rush the shot, gets downhill on the baseline, and guess who we find? Sophie Cunningham in the corner.
Backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in.
If I said the Indiana Fever, the problem in tonight's game, going up against the New York Liberty, okay, the lead changed like 6 times. Okay, let me see. Yeah, the lead changed 6 times, and they were tied 7 times in tonight's game. The biggest issue that the Indiana Fever ran into when going up against the New York Liberty in tonight's game was the free throws. They missed so many free throw shots at crunch time, guys. And I don't want to just drag Caitlin Clark, okay? Because again, yeah.
By the time Indiana rolled into New York for this matchup, the Fever were already dealing with a schedule that would make even the most hardened road warrior question whether the league had accidentally confused a basketball itinerary with some kind of cruel, experimental punishment program. This team has spent significant stretches of the season doing nothing but crossing states, playing on the road, and moving from one intensely demanding matchup to another, all while desperately trying to maintain some semblance of consistency in a league where the margin for error is already razor-thin. But somehow, in the middle of all that relentless movement and physical toll, Caitlin Clark is still expected to perform like an emotionless, flawless machine. She is expected to score at will, create shots out of thin air, control the entire offense, make the correct read on every possession, avoid turnovers, play aggressive defense, absorb contact that would make lesser players wilt, stay perfectly healthy, deliver in the clutch, and apparently never miss a free throw. Because the moment she does, the internet, social media, and every pundit with a microphone activates like someone just pulled a 5-alarm fire bell, ready to dissect every single second.
We would be here. The story of the 2026 Indiana Fever, they're not winning the championship, guys. I'm going to just be honest with you. I don't believe they're winning the championship. They're lucky if they get into the playoffs. I believe that they're going to be knocked out in the first round. This has nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. Nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. If I'm Caitlin Clark, I'm talking to my agent right now. We're negotiating, and we're getting me the hell out of Indiana, bro. I don't even think getting a new coach could fix this. Granted, Stephanie White get a lot of the blame, but majority of the blame needs to be spearheaded and gone to none other than Amber Cox.
Backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in.
Look, I know I said the wins and losses weren't that important in the middle of this stretch for the Fever, considering the schedule. As I put it, it's diabolical. But there's some frustration points from it. The most important thing was them getting out healthy. That wasn't exactly the case. Maisha Hines-Allen looked to be holding her arm, looked to be in a lot of pain. There was no update after the game about her status, but there were some pain points from the way the Fever have played, really going back to some of that tempo game, but obviously in Dallas and then in this one as well. Some of that can be chalked up to fatigue. Some of that is some patterns that we've seen. The last 43 seconds or so will be pointed out a lot because Caitlin Clark was involved, who I thought played pretty well overall in this game, but she's looking for a foul on Fever.
That is the bizarre and frankly exhausting reality surrounding Clark right now. The expectations aren't just enormous, they're astronomical, driven by the truly seismic impact she's already had on the sport. But those insane expectations have also created a completely warped standard where an ordinary, even understandable, bad night can instantly become ironclad evidence that she is somehow overrated, selfish, inconsistent, or somehow personally responsible for every single problem Indiana has ever faced. One missed shot isn't just a missed shot. It becomes a headline. A single moment is treated as if it explains an entire basketball game, negating everything that came before. One turnover isn't just a turnover. It ignites a full-blown debate about her decision-making. One difficult possession becomes irrefutable proof that something is supposedly fundamentally wrong with her game. And two critical missed free throws, well, those can send social media into a full-scale forensic investigation before the players have even had time to leave the arena. That is the strange, often unfair reality Clark continues to navigate, because the standards surrounding her have become so extreme that an ordinary off night, a moment of human fallibility, can genuinely feel like a national referendum on her entire ability and future.
She put up 21 points. She only had 2 turnovers. And I say only, okay? Because it could be, we already know, she can be somewhat of a Tammy turnover, a turnover Tammy, so to speak, if you will, rather. And in tonight's game, I believe 2 turnovers, that's fair, okay? She still managed to put up 21 points, okay? And she also had 4 rebounds. But she was 1 of 4 from the free throw line. She was 9 of 18 from the field, as well as 2 of 6 from the three-point line. She was 25% from the three-point line, from shooting, from the three. Okay, but again, they had Aaliyah Boston to pick it up. Kelsey Mitchell was a one-woman army all on her own, like she usually is every game.
Backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in.
Goes to the ground here, looks for a foul call, doesn't get it. Then back on the other side, there is the foul that is called on Caitlin, or I think Caitlin got the foul call there, sends the Liberty to the free throw line. And then, this is the replay, by the way, and you can see, it's probably a foul. The arm is in there. Probably should have gotten the call, but sometimes you don't get those calls at the end of the game. The problem is, it feels like Caitlin Clark never gets those calls. So you see where the frustration comes from a little bit right there. Caitlin goes to the free throw line and misses 2 foul shots. She has not shot free throws.
The loss to the New York Liberty was yet another brutal example of that suffocating pressure. Indiana was facing one of the league's most talented veteran teams, and the game was fiercely competitive, with every single possession becoming increasingly important as the clock wound down toward the final, chaotic minutes. Clark certainly had opportunities that she would probably want back, including those 2 infamous free throws that became one of the biggest talking points afterward. But here's the kicker, the truly revealing part of the story wasn't simply that she missed them, because every player misses shots. It was the way she responded to that profound disappointment. Instead of pretending the mistakes never happened, instead of offering up a laundry list of excuses, Clark took immediate, undeniable ownership of them, and then, crucially, looked toward what she could improve. That might sound deceptively simple, but in the current, toxic environment surrounding her, it actually says a monumental amount about her unwavering mentality. She understands that being a truly elite competitor does not mean making every single shot or making the absolutely correct decision on every single possession. What it does mean is being willing to examine those mistakes honestly, to dissect them, and then, most importantly, to use them as fuel to get better, rather than allowing them to become a permanent, soul-crushing source of frustration. Backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in. And get this, that mindset matters more than ever because Clark is operating under a level of scrutiny that very, very few players have ever experienced this early in their professional careers. If she hits a ridiculous logo three-pointer, the reaction is enormous, celebrated globally. But if she misses that exact same shot a few nights later, some people immediately start questioning whether she should have even taken it in the first place, calling it a bad shot. If she delivers an incredible no-look pass through impossible traffic, she receives deserved praise for her unparalleled vision. But if that same ambitious pass becomes a turnover, critics can suddenly act as though creativity itself was the problem, as if she should just play it safe. It's an impossible tightrope walk. Backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in. That is an incredibly, almost unfairly difficult balance for any player to strike. Clark has to remain aggressive enough to constantly make the audacious, game-changing plays that have made her so incredibly dangerous and compelling to watch, while also fundamentally understanding that those same inherent risks will occasionally, inevitably, produce mistakes. A truly high-level playmaker cannot eliminate every single turnover without also, by definition, eliminating some of the ambition, some of the pure genius that creates those impossible assists. A confident shooter, especially one with her range, cannot guarantee that every single attempt will fall through the net. A player who demands the ball in the most crucial, pressure cooker moments cannot realistically expect every single decision made under that intense pressure to become the perfectly correct one. That is simply the raw, brutal, and beautiful nature of professional basketball, a game of imperfect humans striving for perfection. Backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in. And the physical side of the game, oh, that makes the challenge even more demanding. Clark has had to rapidly adjust to a new reality where defenders understand, unequivocally, that giving her comfortable space is simply not an option. That means she regularly faces aggressive, often bordering on brutal, pressure physical contests around every screen, constant contact, and defenders who are absolutely determined to make every single possession an uncomfortable, exhausting battle. Some of that physicality is just part of competitive, professional basketball, but other moments inevitably become controversial, fueling outrage when fans, and often analysts, believe officials should have made a different call, should have blown the whistle. Either way, the undeniable reality remains that Clark is almost never, ever being allowed to operate in a comfortable environment. She has to create against relentless pressure, all while knowing that literally thousands, if not millions, of people are watching her every single possession, and the consequences of each decision become wildly magnified because of the unprecedented attention surrounding her. When she makes the difficult highlight reel pass, people celebrate the vision. But when that same type of ambitious pass goes wrong, people instantly question the judgment behind it. When she attacks the basket, defenders collapse on her like a closing trap, and when she draws contact, another heated, endless argument can begin about whether the whistle should have been blown. It's a no-win scenario for a lot of people watching. Backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in. That is an absolutely insane amount for one player to process while still trying to read a complex defense in real time, making split-second decisions. The pressure doesn't magically disappear simply because the game begins. If anything, it becomes louder, more pervasive, more suffocating. The Indiana Fever have become one of the most closely followed teams in all asterisk of women's basketball, and Clark is, obviously, the undisputed center of that entire universe of attention. The Fever are no longer simply another team appearing on a schedule. Their games have become major, must-see events, and the level of interest surrounding the entire franchise has changed dramatically, irreversibly. That attention, of course, is incredibly valuable for the league and the team, but it also comes with an incredibly steep price. Every opponent wants nothing more than to beat Indiana, and every single defender knows that stopping Clark can completely change the entire rhythm and outcome of the Fever's offense. Fans expect memorable highlight reel performances. Critics wait, salivating for mistakes. Supporters expect continuous brilliance, and social media seems permanently prepared to turn whichever moment happens next into a full-blown, often toxic debate. Clark has to somehow perform and thrive inside all of that deafening noise. Backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in, backslash in. At the exact same time, Indiana has been dealing with an unbelievably demanding schedule that requires the team to travel across different states, repeatedly change environments, constantly prepare for new opponents, and then somehow recover quickly before doing it all over again, often with minimal rest.